What's up guys, Luke here with Luke's Points and Miles, and today I'm going to give you some tips on how to meet that credit card minimum spend requirement without overspending. If you've gotten a ton of credit card bonuses, there's a chance you've had to make some questionable purchases to make sure you hit that bonus, and most of us, even though we might never admit it, we know the feeling. I'm just going to get straight to the point with this one. Here are some tips, tricks, or techniques to hit your credit card minimum spend without being stupid. Now, before I start, a lot of these tips require money and discipline. And if you don't have those things, maybe the credit card or at least the credit card bonus game just isn't for you. Grab you one of those Citi custom caches and click on a different video. This first one I'll talk about as a general idea, and then I'll get a little more specific. This is prepaying some of your bills. Some of these examples are better than others, but let's talk about our electricity bill. Most of your electric companies really won't mind you paying more than what's required. For instance, if your electric bill is consistently $100 a month, it is possible to just throw $500 on there. Now, you can look at this a couple different ways. One way is to cry about the 37 cents you would have made if that money was sitting in a high yield savings account. Or you could see it as, I have to pay the electric company anyway. I might as well get this bonus as quick as possible. Now, let's look at this in a more specific situation. Let's say you're working on a sign-up bonus for a card like the Wells Fargo Autograph. That card has a bonus of 20,000 Wells points for $1,000 in spend. Why not just drop $1,000 on your cell phone bill? Here's why. The card will earn 3 times on cell phone bills, and it has cell phone protection. So you already have to pay that bill. This is a quick way to hit the bonus and maximize that $1,000 spend at the same time. I don't mind prepaying my monthly expenses to a point. So this is a technique I use quite a bit if I can match elevated earnings with a reoccurring expense. The next one is one I've talked about before, and I'm always surprised by how many folks with a mortgage don't do this. Most folks with a mortgage also pay the property taxes and the insurance to the lender. That lender will hold that money in escrow, and then they'll pay the tax man and they'll pay your insurance company. Personally, for me, no thank you. I prefer to pay those things myself and with a credit card. See, I have 2 properties, so 2 mortgages. I pay the mortgages only to the lenders. I pay the insurance to USAA, and they allow me to use a credit card with no fees. I also prefer to pay the tax man myself at the end of the year or the beginning of the year, depending on how you look at it. Now, the taxes do come with a fee. So if the fee doesn't make sense, then maybe don't do this. But for me, I'm okay with paying 2% to get a return of over 10%. One more tip. For property taxes, I do put that monthly payment into a high yield savings account or a CD to kind of let it marinate until tax time. By then, I'll have enough profit to order dessert after a fancy meal, or hey, maybe it covers the credit card payment fee. I mean, it's not that much money, but I do like to earn points on all my spend. I live in an area of very low property taxes, but I did just pay them for 2024, and it has allowed me to easily meet minimum spend on the cards I'm working on right now. And it's money I have to spend anyway. If your mortgage lender won't allow this, have a conversation, dig a little deeper. Sometimes they'll require the loan to be a couple years old or a certain percentage of equity, something like that. And this also makes tax time hurt a little less when you're gaining bonus points. Kinda. The insurance part here also counts for automobile insurance and even renter's insurance. I use USAA for all my insurance, and I'm sure a lot of folks will say their insurance won't allow that, but in my case it does. To quickly sum that up, I have 2 very modest properties, and this gives me thousands of dollars in organic spend to meet sign-up bonuses each year. This next one is pretty obvious, but I still wanted to include it. If you're using a home equity line of credit or a HELOC to renovate or update your home, I mentioned HELOC because this seems to be the most common reason for a HELOC. Make sure you have the option to withdraw the cash from that equity and then use your rewards credit card for as many of the expenses possible, and then pay your credit card off with that HELOC money. Speaking of updating your home, I had an insurance claim last year after a storm damaged my roof. Now, it seems like most of the time the process goes like this. Once your insurance claim is approved, so many folks get a check from their insurance company and they just sign the check over to the roofing company or the contractor. I didn't want to do that, so I deposited the check into my own bank account and I told the contractor, just send me an invoice. At first, he did not want to do that because he didn't want to accept a payment through a credit card and pay the fees. So I had two options, and I've done both of these. The first option was I told him just to charge me a processing fee. Normally that looks like 2%. So if that extra 2% still makes it profitable, then I'll gladly pay it. There's another way to do this as well though. There are companies like Plastic and Melio. Melio is for the business expenses. Those companies charge your credit card along with a fee, and then they send the company or person or contractor a paper check. I've done this a few times to earn the free night certificate on the Hilton Surpass card. Just remember to check your numbers to make sure it does make sense with the fee. For me, it almost always does because I own a property management company and that fee might be considered a business expense. Either way, it's a way to turn a natural expense into some rewards points. Now, here's a controversial one. I have a friend that works a W-2 job, but he claims married with 9 dependents throughout the year. What this means is he pays very low taxes all year, but he does owe the majority of his taxes at the end of the year. This technique, in my opinion, requires very strict discipline and probably a lot of capital on the sidelines just in case you miscalculate. But a W-2 employee having an extra 25 grand or so expenses in April could have some advantages when you consider what that money could be doing for you all year long. This probably isn't something I would recommend, but I wanted to add it here. Now, there are some other techniques, but I don't do them, such as donating to charity, picking up tabs for friends and family, or adding authorized users that you can trust to pay you back. I just don't have that kind of faith in human beings, so I won't talk about them, but I do want to talk about one last thing. My favorite technique that I use every year is purchasing points for travel. I consider this investing in my family's travel budget. I understand this might not be for everyone because so many of us just want to travel for the least amount of cash possible, but I understand for me, travel costs a lot of money. I subsidize it really well with points and miles, but I still come out of pocket. The two programs I generally purchase points from every year is IHG and Hilton. That is because both sell their points for half a penny each when they're on sale. I generally purchase the maximum allowed, and I know that limit kind of wiggles around, so if I'm able to purchase a little more, I will. I'm also willing to spend a few $1,000s on hotel points each year because I know I can double that value with those stays. Purchasing 400,000 IHG points for $2,000 can knock down a sign-up bonus pretty quickly. I know I'm going to be asked this, so if you purchase Hilton points with a Hilton credit card, it does not code as a Hilton purchase. Points are purchased from a third party, so it will likely code in the other category. Guys, I hope you took something from this list today, and I want to mention that there are always new ways to spend on credit cards. This is where we get outside of what I consider acceptable YouTube material. There are things that might be learned locally or at a meetup. I also want to encourage you to add any of your general tips below. There are plenty of things I didn't mention, like tuition or daycare. Guys, if you like this content and you want to support the channel, slap that like button. And if you want more information on credit cards and their bonuses, check out my links in the description below. Using my links helps me to create mostly sponsor-free content like this. And if you have used my links in the past, I sincerely appreciate you. As always, if you've stayed all the way to the end, thank you. Until next time.